Yeah!
It's Josh Williams here, and welcome to another bonus episode of the One Man Podcast, brought to you by Absolute Comedy. Check out absolutecomedy.ca, guys. It's funny doing a plug right off the top. I am here with a very good friend of mine. We have done every kind of gig you can imagine, and probably even more beyond that. My guest today has performed all over the world: comedy, France, Ukraine, China, Kuwait, England, all over the place. You've seen him on CBC's Laugh Out Loud, Byte TV, Sirius XM. He was the winner of Ottawa's Funniest Person in the Valley. And he's here now, my buddy Geoff MacKay. Thank you so much for joining me, buddy.
Hello, Joshua.
You just start with a fake voice. I love that. Yeah, thanks for doing this, dude. Like, we've worked together so many times. In fact, even just yesterday, this episode's going to come out on Friday. I always do that. It's context of today. I talked about it in the podcast, so people are listening to this week's episode today.
Time's not a real thing.
No, it's not. It's a human creation.
Absolutely.
Well, it's going to make it harder to put context on what we're talking about.
I'm going Jim Carrey on you right now.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that documentary yet. That's the Jim and Andy one?
Oh, this is his most recent. I mean, the guy, he's lost his mind according to most people, but I think he's actually quite brilliant. And he's just talking about, how your ego is your entire self and nothing is real. And anyway, you have to check him out. Some interviews with Hollywood reporters. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, apparently the Jim and Andy, do you know the one I'm talking about?
No.
So there was all this footage. I haven't seen it too, so I'm speaking ignorantly, which is how I run my podcast. All right. I don't research anything
I can
first.
tell.
I just say it. But there's a documentary on Netflix called Jim and Andy, and apparently there was all this old footage behind the scenes stuff of when he was playing Andy Kaufman.
Right.
And this is like where that whole thing that you talk about him just stepping outside of himself and the ego and everything like that. Like, he is a method actor and he got way too into characters Andy Kaufman, and he was pissing people off, on set and everything. Like, he was just staying Andy Kaufman all the time.
Yeah.
And the studio hid all this footage because they thought people would see it and think Jim Carrey was a complete fucking asshole. So, but he's saying that after everything was done, like, he didn't know who he was afterwards. And that's when he started going into all this, stuff about himself. So
it's like Heath Ledger when he did the Joker.
Yeah. Only Jim Carrey still lived for years afterwards. But yeah, so I'm actually, everyone's been recommending it to me. I have so many things on Netflix I'm supposed to watch, but I just
don't we all?
Exactly. Who has the time? You know what really pisses me off? Those people who do watch a lot of stuff on Netflix, who do have the time, and they're always like, I just don't have enough time.
I can't even imagine. Like, I don't even watch really anything. I watch a few series, but that's it. And like, I don't even have a family. I don't have, I don't see how people have time to do anything in their life. My life is pretty like, I do comedy, I have a day job, work on the house, take my dog, that's it. I have no time for anything else. Like, I'm not even on social media, really.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on Twitter, and that's it. And there's nothing. I've never been on Facebook. I don't see how people have time for this stuff. That's my only, like, really my biggest mystery with it all.
Yeah. Well, some people, they don't. You're doing productive things. So they're not, not everybody. I'm going to come across a gentleman. I don't give a fuck. We're drinking wine. We're being fancy bitches today.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a snowy Tuesday.
And we're drinking Chardonnay. But like, we've worked together countless times. We've seen it all, and I'm sure throughout the course of this episode we'll end up telling some fun stories. But of course, like all my comedic guests, I always start with the question is, what were you doing before comedy, and what got you started into stand-up comedy?
That's a great question, Josh.
I'm very good.
So I was a university student. I hated school so much. I didn't believe the bullshit of, this is education. I mean, like, education is, as far as, like, most universities can really just be, it's just regurgitation. It's like, here's a textbook, read it at your leisure, and then we have a day where you're going to be tested on it and just tell us exactly what this book says. I didn't see the evolution or the progress mentally of that sort of education system. So, as a young guy, I was kind of, I don't want to say maybe I was like arrogant or stubborn or something, but I thought I was smarter than the university.
Right.
So I remember one night, I was supposed to be doing homework or whatever, and I was watching like Comedy Now, I think it was. And I remember seeing Sean Majumder on Comedy Now, and I was like, that guy's really funny. And then I watched Comedy Now, the next night, and I saw some comic, I forget who it was, and I was like, that guy was shit.
Do you really forget who it is? You're just being
No, I don't remember it. And then, but I remember.
I would be incredibly fascinated. Just be like,
Me
here's a
too.
piece of paper, write it down.
I would love to know.
Let's just assume it was no.
Throw out some names, get sued.
Yeah.
No, and then I remember thinking to myself, like, I always wanted to try stand up, and I thought, if I did comedy, I would not be as good as Sean Majumder, but I would definitely be better than that other guy. And I was like, if that guy's on TV, like, how bad can comics be who aren't on TV?
Right.
So I remember going to Yuck Yucks. I remember watching Yuck Yucks a few times. I went down, and then I signed up and, did the first show ever, and I barely remember it. Just remember going on stage, the lights being like so like bright. I was just trying to remember what I had rehearsed for, I probably rehearsed for a couple months.
I was going to say, because I always wonder, like, how long was your first, from the time that you signed up for it to your first time getting on stage? Like that period where you're like, now I have a date. Oh shit, I'm going to do this. So you said a couple months-ish?
Yeah. I would go behind my high school, like at night in the alleyway, and just like where it was quiet, and I would just talk into the echoes in the alleys. And then I went on stage, and it went well. Like, it went pretty decent. For a first time, I think it went very well. And even Howard, who, runs Yuck Yucks, was like, that was good. Like, it was great first time. And then I remember the second show I did, I like a month later, I got basically almost, I don't even say a standing ovation because it wasn't that, but I did really well. And I changed up all my material. I thought you had to make new material for every show you did. And I was only doing 6-minute sets. So I got a whole new 6 minutes. I was like, man, that stuff was even better than the first stuff. And then I went my third time on stage. And I thought at this point, I'm like, I'm the man. I'm going to be like the best comic in history. And the third time I went on, I got all new stuff. And it was deathly silence, like absolute, the worst set I've ever done in my life. And so, I kind of experienced all three, a good set, a great set, and a dog shit set within the first 3 times I ever did comedy. So, and
luckily didn't start with the dog shit.
Yeah.
Never come back to do the other two.
Oh, it was hard at coming back after that. That third set, I was like, what? And then Howard was like, why are you doing all this new stuff? I was like, isn't that what you're supposed to do? He's like, no, just the first 6 minutes you have, work on that for like a year. And I was like, a year? I fucking nailed it the first time, man.
Yeah, it's done. Put it in the box. It's done.
And I've been working on the same 6 minutes ever since. So
that's funny. Did you have a bunch of friends and family come out for like the first time? Like, do you remember in terms of that dynamic?
Yeah.
Did you tell everybody or did you try to do it stealth?
No. Having done this for so many years now, I can tell, right? And you, same way, you can tell who's going to make it or who's going to stick around the scene and actually try to be a stand-up comic and who's not. Right. And if you're someone who's going to invite all your friends and it's just like a spectacle, like, hey, look at me, I'm in front of a microphone, I will bet 9 times out of 10 that guy or girl will never be on the scene a year later.
Right.
I think it's a very personal thing. I didn't have anyone. I was terrified. I didn't want to see, I thought I was going to bomb, right? So I didn't want any of my friends and family to see me bomb. So, I didn't really tell anybody probably for the first, I told my best friend in the world, like that night, I remember getting off stage. I was like, man, I did Yuck Yucks. And he was like, what? That's crazy. But.
Oh, you didn't even invite him?
No, I didn't invite
him. You told him after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then, after probably a few months is when I actually sort of said, I kind of do stand up, and I invited some people. But I really think that most great comics, until you have something that you're kind of proud of and is going to do okay, you don't invite people.
Yeah. I certainly don't invite large groups.
Yeah.
There's times where, just for myself, and this is years later into stand up, but there's times where, like, if I'm working with someone outside of comedy, networking something or whatever, and they know I'm a comedian, a lot of times I'll ask them, I'll give them some tickets and tell them to come see me.
Sure, yeah.
Because I'm like, you just don't know. Because a lot of people, I'll tell people, in conversation if it comes up that, I do comedy. And what happens, like, oh, you do comedy. Like, do you know so-and-so? And I swear 99% of the time they name an amateur.
Yeah.
Because the amateur's always so loud, but I'm a comedian. But so, I mean, most of the time it's someone going, oh, do you know so-and-so? Like me? Yeah, I went to see a show. It's not bad. And I'm kind of like, I immediately assume that I've been placed in the same bracket as that person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly.
So it's like, it happened with me yesterday when I got my hair cut. The guy's like, oh, you do comedy? Absolutely. Yeah. Do you know, and then it was amateur name. And I'm like, yeah, he's brand new. Nice guy.
Yeah.
But brand new. I go, I've been doing this for close to 10 years now. So it's We're a little different on the again,
Yeah.
but I guess that's an ego thing, feeling the need to differentiate. But when I'm working with someone and trying to do something maybe stand-up related, so for example, if I'm working for a company and then like, hey, we do an event, I go, well, why don't you think of stand-up? I want those people I want to come see. And it's not like let's have 50 different groups, but I'm saying I'll invite a table of 2 to come watch me. That's the only time I actually invite anybody to come watch me. In fact, when my parents are like, oh, when's the next time you're there? We should go. I go, I'm not. You've seen what I'm bringing to the table right now. I'll let you know when it's worth coming back to see me again, kind of thing.
I always say that whenever the minute you don't want to tell people in general that you're a comic is when you're actually a comic. Yeah. You're an amateur, and when you're still going around like promoting yourself, like, I do comedy, and you're telling girls like, that's the first, as an amateur, you tell all these ladies like, I'm a comedian. And then you're okay. But then once you get to be a real comic, you're like, I'm not fucking telling anybody. Yeah. Because I know what, it's going to be make me laugh. It's going to be I'm funnier than you. It's going to be you don't seem that funny to me. The standard response.
Pissing contests out of nowhere for no reason. So great comics like some guys in the scene that I know who are super pros. They're like, no, I would never. Like they say they're like, I work in the entertainment business. That's all they'll tell anyone. Oh, that's way more ambiguous.
Yeah, exactly.
that arises a lot more questions. I actually have a friend who's a firefighter, and he knows how good that works with the ladies. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he will almost like 6-7 times give an answer that does not say I'm a firefighter. He's like, I work for the city. Oh, what do you do for the city? I just, I work in prevention or whatever. It's like, what? Like I just a response team, you know what I mean? Like for emergencies. And it's like you really gotta, he's not like, hey, I'm a firefighter, because it's just like gush wet. Yeah. It's like, now I gotta beat you off with a stick all night. I actually say occasionally when there's firefighters, I talk to someone and they're like, oh, I'm a firefighter. I'm like, those guys spend more time making vaginas wet than burning buildings. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's even like every chick wants the diamond ring. But it's like, oh, you're married? That's fine. I'm married to a firefighter. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's like, oh, that's the dominoes. You got kinged right there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Excuse me. So 6 months in, just people are starting to come see you, whatever. How long was it before you started getting like paid work?
I think it was about 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember did a show. Howard with Yuck Yucks had me go to Cornwall with Ben Miner. And BJ Woodbury was the headliner. And I remember we did this dive bar in Cornwall. I think I still have the check. I think I was paid $50. And I still I lost the check because I was kind of like trying to keep it and be like frame it or something.
Right, of course.
Because at the time I was a young kid, and I was like, oh, 50. I wasn't living with my parents, but I was, cheap rent. So I was like, I don't need this $50 that bad. So I found the check like a couple years ago, just some box in my room. I was like, man, I wonder if I could still cash this. Like, this is like a decade plus old. Yeah. So. Now,
do you remember not to, I like your philosophy because you don't like to sort of age things and whatnot.
No.
But my question is, do you mind if you say how long you've been doing stand-up comedy? How long ago that may have been that you first got on stage?
It was, I think 15 years ago, but there was about 3 years where I took a break and I didn't do any.
Right.
So yeah, I guess 12 years is like my stand-up.
That's how much time you spent in stand-up. Yeah. That's friggin' amazing though. Because I mean, you started when we were referring to Yuck Yucks, there was no Absolute Comedy in Ottawa.
I think it was just before Absolute started, or it was just like, just kind of, it was before Absolute.
Yeah, because at this point it's like 2000 or 12 years. Absolute's been here 12 years. So if you started 15 years ago, there would have been a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Just enough to sort of get your feet wet in the beginning.
Yeah. I only did comedy for about a year and a half before I went back to school in Kingston, and I kind of called it quits on comedy.
So what happened there? Like you're doing comedy, you're getting, I assume, some paid work prior to quitting comedy.
Yeah. I was doing like open spots, and I was doing, a bit of paid work with Yucks. And then I realized like, shit, like I didn't have a degree. I didn't have a direction. I had nothing. So I was like, okay, like I got into Queen's University, and I went to Queen's for, another year. And then I realized again, like I hated university.
Yeah. What were you taking?
I was in economics.
Okay. Yeah. What did you want to do with that?
Just make money.
I love people like, I'm taking business, economics. I hear business and money, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, you'd think. But And then I dropped out there and I moved out west and I moved in with my cousin and we were just living in Victoria and not really, just working kind of shitty jobs. But then and then I came back to comedy when I came back to Ottawa. And that's when I came to Absolute and I was like, it's sort of my second round of it. And Jay was great to me. Like he was, I was doing okay and he promoted me a lot faster than Yucks did. So I was like, I'm sticking with this guy. He believes in me more than the other guys. So let's go with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you came back, how long, because again, like it's all part of a thing. Like, so when you were out west, were you doing anything? Was just kind of, because it happens to all of us where there's periods where we just exist.
Yeah, I was existing. I was, we would go surfing or we'd do, I'd go biking a lot and then, and just pick up games of like, of Frisbee or whatever, like just doing fucking nothing with, productive. And, that actually got really, as I get depressed a lot. And I think as fun as that sounds, if you don't have a direction in life, like, or a goal, you lose yourself real quick.
So as much as that's fun, it's a bunch of distractions.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not, I guess, growth or progress.
Yeah. You're just putting your life off. You're just like, I don't want to deal with reality. So I'm going to just, work a kitchen job and surf and, and some people, that's the dream. Like, and maybe it is like,
yeah, maybe it turns out in the end you learn that all those people had it right. They're
yeah.
like, what are you working for?
Absolutely.
If you're alive and you can play Frisbee, like again, it sounds nice to me, but you're also a very active guy. I'm not an active guy. So I'm like, oh, that sounds like fun, just hanging out at the beach and biking. I'm like, then again, it'd be a lot of work for me. But it does sound nice. Who wouldn't want to live in a beautiful place like, Victoria, I apologize.
Yeah.
And just, be active or whatever. But like you said, for people, especially, like us who are creatives, you do get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm not producing anything. I'm not generating anything.
And that's what really bugs me kind of about in Ottawa in general. Like I've been, I love the city. I've lived here a lot of my life and it's a great city, but there's not a lot of ambition, or at least, like especially with the federal government, the major employer, it's like the factory of Ottawa, it's a factory job here where that's where, I say that's where dreams go to hide. And you say dreams go to die.
Oh yeah,
they definitely.
I don't think I've seen a lot of them sprout back from the ground.
No,
afterwards.
like I worked for the government and I couldn't do it. Like I just could not bring myself to be around those offices and that environment of just like sterility, and everyone's just kind of well, we're going to collect our $65K a year, and that's all we really want. I was like, no, like I couldn't do it.
Right.
So that's what kind of bugs me about the city is that there is certainly a lot of artistic stuff happening, but you got to dig to find it.
Right.
And not everyone, it's a very stable, safe city, which is nice, but it's not as creative as it doesn't encourage creativity as much as I would.
No, it is very sterile. Like that's the line that I use in my joke as I say to people, you work for the government, you traded your dreams for security.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's almost like the creative and the artistic stuff is almost like walking down a street and you hear someone yell for help. You just hear a yell. Where did that come from? Like that's the art and the fun community of Ottawa. It's just a sterile street, and just every now and again you hear a yell. And what was that? And it's already over and gone with before you.
Like what really like hits home for me is having a couple of my buddies are I grew up with them and they work for the gov, and we were having a conversation. Like they have a family and nice, homes, and they have a stable job. And they said to me like, well, why, you could do this. Why don't you want to do that? I was like, cause there's no mystery. Like for me, I thrive on mystery. Like it's as scary as it is, the fact that I don't know what I'm doing in 6 months to a year, it kind of, it lights me up.
Yeah. The spontaneity.
Yeah. Maybe. Whereas I told my buddy, I said, look, you have this job at the gov. I can predict exactly how much money, I can calculate how much money you're going to make by the time you retire when you're 55, 60, whatever.
Right.
I can tell you exactly. Don't you find that awful that how it's going to end?
Yeah. You take the mystery out of life.
Yeah.
There's no surprises. Yeah. There's no.
I think it was Einstein that said the most important thing about life was its mystery.
Yeah.
And that I thrive on that. Like, and as chaotic as my life seems to a lot of my friends, like, comedy this, contract job here and there, and you don't really know where all your income's coming or if it's going to be stable. I'm like, and yeah, it is hard as most comics. Like you would, you don't know that what's happening 6 months from now, but there's also a comfort for me. It's comforting to know that I don't know how it's going to end.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I mean, when I was working for telecommunications in TELUS, every day was the same.
Yeah.
Every day was the same. And it was so like, I made good money, but it was so the same that I couldn't, like, if you asked me, what were you doing in February of that? Standing in a store, I couldn't differentiate one day from the next. But I mean, if you ask me what I was doing 2014 in February, I can go to my calendar and I can see those individual shows. And I can recall each one of those shows because they're different. You're different part of the country, different environment, different people, working with different colleagues, which is even a great thing because even it's not like you're just traveling with your same colleagues. It's different comics that you work with in different parts of the world. Like there's so much variety and I don't know. It's strange. So obviously you're back in Ottawa, and that's the thing. I still to this day, everyone is, but why don't you just try to get a job with the guy? Like, cause I'd rather take the risk, right? No risk, no reward.
Yeah.
So you're back in Ottawa and I guess you weren't particularly long before Jay was working you because you already had a reputation before you had left as being one of the strong up and comers.
Yeah, I guess so. Like it was a while ago, so I don't really remember too much, but I remember Jay was like, pretty quick was like, you want a middle? You want to MC? I'm headlining now. And like, so it took a while, but I don't take it, maybe, I don't go at comedy as hard as some people do. Like I'm not out at the open mics every night. I'm sort of a bit maybe more calculated. And like, if I bring something to the stage for the first time, I want it to be like decent, but I'm not as cavalier as to just, throw anything up there and hope it sticks.
Right. And there's a lot of people, just from what I've seen here in this city, I can't speak for all the other cities, but there's a lot of people in Ottawa who are hitting the open mics, but they're not doing new stuff. They're just getting on stage because it's fun.
Yeah, it's a great, it's when you have like last night, you and I did a show and it was a packed house and it was like it was Tuesday night, whatever. And it was a great show. Like the whole, from front to back, the show was fantastic. The audience was great. And that's the times you're like, man, this is why I love comedy, is because you feel awesome after the show. I did a couple new things. They didn't work out that well, but I can work on them. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. We sort of, to go back to what we were sort of just talking about before, like with the time thing, is that we only have, like, time is really the only currency. It's the only currency anyone ever has. Because whether you're a millionaire or you're some guy, homeless on Elgin Street, you have, let's say if everything goes well, you have give or take 80 years.
Okay.
If everything,
Yeah, I'm not going to make it to 80. I've done too much damage.
Well, you never know. Josh, we can work together. I'll get you fit and you're fit. But, that's the thing. And like, and as much as I say, I don't believe in time as far as birthdays go and your age, like, you only have, like, as far as like government stuff, like, I realized I can't imagine being someone who worked for the government and you're 45 and you've worked there for 20 years and you just go, oh shit, like I missed a lot.
Yeah.
I missed my whole life and I'm not going to get that back.
Yeah.
So that's terrifying to me. And, I don't want that to happen. And that's, kind of the reason, comedy still, it excites me and it's the reason I love mystery. I love mystery.
Yeah, and you've accomplished a lot in stand-up comedy. Like, for example, you did a lot of those Bite TV things. Like you were in Toronto and you did performances on Bite TV. You did, you went to China.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you mind telling me that story? You actually had an opportunity to go and perform stand-up comedy at multiple shows, I think, in China. How long were you there for, like a month?
Yeah, just shy of a month. Yeah.
So what happened? How did that trip come to pass?
So our good friend Simon Celine, doorman at Absolute, he had a buddy or something that was asked him, to name a few comics that would want to go to China for a month for not the greatest pay, but more for the experience. And of course, for anyone who's working a day job, you got to basically quit that. So I think Simon asked a few people. He talked to me. I was like, yeah, man, I can do that. Absolutely. I'd love to go to China. So he came with me. And then, I was headlining shows, doing 50-minute an hour sets in Shanghai and surrounding kind of areas. And it was like, there was a new business. Like, stand up in China, this was 5 years ago now, was not that, it wasn't a thing. So,
really?
No, like stand up right now, it might be a thing, but like Chinese stand up is two guys talking back and forth. That's what that is.
Oh, okay.
So like English stand up comedy was, Shanghai is a city of, I think, something like 18 million people. And there was,
so even with Russell Peters, it's not a thing?
It definitely, to draw from a population of 1.6 billion or whatever Chinese, you're going to get the crowds.
Right.
But it's not a cultural thing. It's not,
Right. It's not something that they get excited to go.
they don't
It's not,
really
it's
know
not
what
a
it
Dance
is.
Dance Revolution or anything like
right
that.
now, I think maybe it's changed in the last 5-6 years, but just having like the average Chinese person would not consider a guy going up on a stage and yelling at them and telling them all their flaws like to be funny.
Right.
So what they do is they have, yeah, exactly.
That is so funny. Just the way that they would view that. They're like, they would take notes and be like, I have to work on myself.
Yeah,
This guy just told me
exactly.
all the things that are wrong with me.
Yeah.
They're very strict, very, very strong teachers there.
For sure.
That's so funny.
So anyway, I went,
Sorry. It's just so funny to me. They would not see a guy standing there yelling at them as funny.
yeah, that's just the regular government. But like, it was a great experience. Like we ended up having our booker kind of like tricked us into doing this to singing at a Miss China pageant, which was, he kind of played it off as like this small little event. And we'd go and we sing. I sang a Doors cover. Simon sang a Temptations cover. And when we get there, yeah, we got there. It's just like this giant like auditorium with TV cameras everywhere, and like there was this singer who sang at the Beijing Olympics, and we were like following. It was just a disaster, a complete disaster.
I've seen the video on YouTube of that, but I haven't seen
A Little Trouble in Big China.
Is that what it's called?
Big Trouble. No, whatever the opposite of the Kurt Russell movie is.
Little Trouble in Big China.
Yeah, Little Trouble in Big China.
That's funny. And it's so you can't see the video, but what were their faces like when you guys were like when you were singing? Were they mortified?
Absolutely. Like they didn't understand English, so they didn't. But they knew we were not professional singers. We were dubbed, like we were brought on stages like these two guys from Canada are here. I mean, in China, it's a prestige thing to have foreigners performing at your event. So we're comics, but our booker dubbed us as singers. And he brings us into this event, and he tells everyone these guys are singers and they're great. And then we go up, and I was like, I kind of held my own a little bit. I wasn't great.
You sang a Doors song as a singer.
Hello, I love you. I sang that, and it was like, and then Simon, like sorry Simon, but he's fucking tone deaf. And that guy got. I think our booker got.
Executed.
Yeah, honestly, like he got his business license revoked or something.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But
oh my god. So, but that's on him. I mean, not. I mean, I hope he's not dead. Jesus Christ, knock on wood. But,
yeah, just watch the video.
Oh my god. So, but he didn't even tell you. Did he tell you afterwards why he would say such a thing to get you guys onto that show?
Well, I think
I would imagine he probably it was to make a mint off the booking.
I don't know, man.
As your booker, he's taking a piece of it, right?
Yeah, I don't think we were even paid for that one. It was like a free trip. We just like we stayed in a really wicked, like a nice hotel, the Shangri-La, and it was great. It was a great time, but it was just like the event itself was a train wreck.
How long were you at the event after you were off stage?
Oh man,
that's fascinating to me, because if you were like, let's say from like 7 till 11 p.m. just as an example, and you were like, we were 7:45. I'm like, so you stayed there for 3 hours afterwards, and we just kept looking at you guys like,
yeah, no, we got banished to our rooms. Like,
oh really?
The booker, he was like,
get to your rooms, lock
the door. He's just like, guys, just go to your doors, just go to your rooms. I'll deal with this. We were like,
really?
Deal with what? And yeah.
Dude, I crushed it, man.
Yeah.
Simon's like, I will sign autographs, sir.
Oh god. and like just like the really funny thing was, I remember Simon coming out to me like, just to be polite. There was like a music industry person at the event, and just to be polite, she gave Simon her card.
Oh, that's so fun.
And Simon
was the worst choice to fucking give a card to, because he would contact her.
He came up to me. He's like, man, they want us to be like professional singers in China. And I was like, no fucking way, man. There's no way that's happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking funny. Oh. Of course, it's so much. She gives you, you're like, thanks, and you just put it in your pocket, and you feel that extra little bit of humiliation.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I was a pity. Pity card. Simon goes, I've made it. I've made it. Geoff, look, he comes running to you, swinging the card over his head.
It was unreal. And then I remember all the beauty, like it was a beauty pageant, like the Miss China beauty pageant. That's what it was for. All these beauty contestants walked by us, and they were just laughing. Yeah, it was like, I
so
knew
funny.
I knew what happened. But I was like,
Oh,
I don't
for
care.
fuck's sakes, that's so funny.
And then we were written up in the news. There's a news write up, and it was very passive aggressive.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
Where can we read that? Does that exist somewhere?
It's I think it's in the video. I put like video.
That's so
put it in
fucking
the video.
funny. What did it say?
It was just like these guys were there. Like,
Oh, really?
It didn't say like these guys killed it. It just said Geoff MacKay, Simon Celine from Canada
Also performed?
were there. Yeah.
Oh, we're
But
there.
I think it even said something malicious. I can't like it was all in Mandarin. Like it was all I couldn't read any of it.
So
except-
somebody was like reading it, quote
Yeah.
unquote, to you, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Like
I
he was
could-
like Geoff MacKay and Simon were.
like our names
There.
are in English, are in like English script, and then the whole paper is in Chinese. So I didn't know what the hell it said.
Yeah. That's so funny. It's almost like when I see something in Chinese where it's in English and then they just changes it to Chinese. That must be what the English looks like to them.
Yeah.
They're like reading a story and then Scramble was there, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It was like Geoff MacKay and Simon Celine were awful, terrible. And he's like, we're there.
Yeah.
That's what it says there. Google it. Don't Google it. That's fucking hilarious. So you get, I mean, I think that was the highlight of that trip.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I mean, we went to the Great Wall. I filmed like a lot of video stuff, and I made a cool little documentary out of it. That, it was the sound is awful, and some of the camera's pretty shaky, but it ended up being kind of a cool little 20-minute documentary that's online. But yeah, it was experience. Not many people get to say they. I mean, we did the show it was all a lot of English expats and Canadian expats who were at our shows, and Bob Dylan was there the night before in Shanghai, and then a bunch of Canadians came up to us after our show. They were like, one of our shows at the clubs, it actually went pretty well. They're like, man, you guys were better than Bob Dylan. Like I was
Wow.
like, we don't even do the same thing. You guys know that, right? Like we're
Yeah.
not singers.
We saw these jugglers, man. You guys were good.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I mean, what did the shows go like?
They were okay.
Because Simon was your opening act, I assume.
Yes, he was. There's a little bit.
Jeff
of
and I are exchanging looks right now. You guys can't see it, but there's a lot being communicated non-verbally.
It was nice because I had an easy time to pick up the pieces.
The bar was set particularly. Simon doesn't listen to this.
Okay, but yeah,
he hasn't figured out
there's
the
one
computer yet.
I put it in the video. There's one clip of him trying to do some crowd work off the top, and he moves the mic and something just crashes down. Like he's like, "So you're from America?" Clank, 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 clank. Like some huge, I don't know what it was, but it was hysterical. That was the perfect little 3 seconds of that personified his stage presence. Right
So
there.
in your documentary that you've got online, does it
Yeah.
have any of Simon's performances?
It has a singing performance. YouTube may have taken the actual song out because it's copyrighted, and they do that now with that that thing.
They wouldn't just mute it?
They
Let you
muted it,
see?
yeah.
Okay,
They
so you
muted
still see Simon's goofy demeanor.
Oh yeah, for
there.
sure. Yeah, definitely.
Can you? Okay, I'm trying to think. So it doesn't sound like we're just a couple assholes picking on somebody.
Yeah.
What is a character from television or movies or something that we can explain to the listeners what Simon is?
Oh man.
He's like Baby Huey meets. I'm trying to think. It's somebody who's he's let's start with Asperger's.
Okay.
All right. There's definitely some level of Asperger's there, and that's not to punch down or anything, but
Yeah.
just
I would equate him to, if you've ever read of Mice and Men, Lenny, but a small version. Not Lenny was a giant, but he was just this gentle, kind, sweet. Simon is.
he's an absolute sweetheart,
Yeah.
but he doesn't get social cues. He doesn't take feedback. And I don't mean just like most people just don't take feedback. Like if you try to tell them, look, dude, you gotta do it like this because that's not right. Oh no, sir, it's quite good. They all love it. Okay, well, you know what? Godspeed to you. Godspeed. God bless Simon.
Yeah. No, I love Simon. He's a great guy, no doubt.
Oh yeah, I love him too, but I never have him open for me.
Wasn't really my choice.
No, I know. That's so funny though. So the shows themselves,
They went okay.
half decent.
Yeah, they were okay. The setup was kind of iffy for some of them, and but I mean, they went all out promoting this thing. I'd walk into a bar and there was a 6-foot poster of me. They're like, "Oh, this has been up here for months," and I was like, "What?" I was like, this is crazy. They went crazy on the promo. Yeah, I still have some of those posters somewhere. I don't know where.
You kept a 6-foot poster of yourself.
a
Fuck
giant
yeah,
life-size poster. I'm not even 6 feet tall. It was bigger than me.
Where's it? You head to toe?
It was like a
Because they like that kind of shit in China. So you see the pictures where it's the person standing as
Yeah.
opposed to like a 6-foot headshot.
yeah, no,
It's-
it was like my torso up. If there was like, you know, all the show, like it was a big, like a billboard sign almost. It was kind of crazy.
That's fucking awesome. Did you get any Chinese vagina while you were there?
I did not. I was dating a girl at the time in Ottawa, but also there's a lot of offers.
Gotta make sure you put
Mostly-
that in there. Listen, I was a good boy,
Yeah.
but I did okay.
Mostly from the Canadians, but no,
Attaboy.
I turned some down, which I was kind of now I'm like, well, I definitely didn't want to, be unfaithful to her, and I didn't. So
Geoff is a very attractive guy. In case you guys are listening to this on iTunes where it doesn't necessarily show you, Geoff is handsome. We all in the comedy community tease Geoff for being handsome, which sounds weird because typically
Well,
it's
that's it.
not
I
the
think
handsome people who get teased, but I think it's just everyone's just very jealous of Geoff.
Jesus, man.
Geoff does
My
very
life's-
well with the ladies. He's very humble, which also helps. But we all tease
It's
him all
not
the
as
time.
it's not as exciting as you might think. I'll tell you that. I mean, it's yeah. No, I have a lot of opportunities, I guess. But
You've
it
done
doesn't
very
interest me.
well. Your resume is extensive.
I've done okay. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So you did the thing. I mean, you've had a lot of opportunities. You've performed all over the States too. Like you've had some stuff in New York. You've done some shows
Yeah.
in San Francisco as well. Some pretty big stuff. Like you
Yeah.
performed. There was a theater show that you did with John Lejoie from The
Yeah.
League, right? And John's
Yeah.
known from like YouTube fame, effectively.
Yeah, everyday normal guy, John Lejoie.
Yeah. How did that happen?
I was going down to San Fran to visit a friend. I think it was 2009, and he was like, he's from Montreal, so I just sort of emailed him and I was like, hey man, like I'm gonna be in San Francisco. I noticed you're gonna be doing shows at Cobb's Theater. Here's a clip of my stuff. If you'd like me to open for you, I'm gonna be there. I'd love to open for you. He emailed me back and was like, hey man, I watched your stuff on YouTube. You're really funny. I'd love for you to open for me. So I showed up, and it was like an 800 seat theater. It was great. It was like, it's a legendary comedy club in San Fran. It's San Fran's A club.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was, we did the show. We did a bunch of shows. It was awesome all weekend. It was, it was amazing. Yeah. And, we were talking last night how like, in Canada, the comics usually hang out after the show and just say thank you to the crowd or whatever. But in the States, like, I remember I had some friends in the audience for one of the shows, and I tried to go out into the audience after the show just to be like, hey guys, let's hang, like whatever. And this bouncer was like, no, you can't go out into the audience without being escorted by security. I was like, what? I'm like, nobody here knows me. I'm the opener. Nobody cares. They're like, nope, doesn't matter, man. You got to stay back until we go with you. So I was like, okay, come with me. I'm going to talk to my buddies. So we go into the crowd, and like there's a couple of these big bouncer guys with me, and like my buddy's like, what the fuck? Like you have security? Like, for now, I guess. But
Oh, it's sweet. You drink those times up. There's lots of
Yeah.
times where we were saying this last night when we were talking. It's just there's lots of times where when you get treated extra good, you're like, fuck, this is nice. Thank you for treating me like what I do has some value.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
lots of shows that we get to do where every now and again it's like, oh, here's a green room for you guys. There's food for you right here. What can we get you to?
Yeah.
And you're like,
This is how it should
I
be.
could get used to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's nice. And then there's lots of shows that you and I have done where we're like, I'll tell you the back of my head, it's like, oh fuck, maybe all those times I said no to a real job, maybe.
Yeah, man, that
That's when
hits
you
me
really
every day.
reconsider. Well, we did that. I was telling them on the on episode 39 from earlier this week.
39.
Today they're listening to it now while we're talking about this one about us doing the insurance show yesterday, which while the organizer and the people were great people, the conditions were not necessarily the greatest for stand-up.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
afternoon daylight coming in, sound wasn't
Nobody's
the greatest. Everyone's sober. They're coworkers. They can see each other. Nobody wants to laugh and be the person singled out or whatever.
Yeah.
What is it? We've driven 2 hours away to perform in a freezing cold golf club in front of senior citizens
Oh, yeah.
who are effectively dying.
Doing professional stand up in Canada, it's like most people's kind of it's like their worst nightmare. Like you have to drive and your car might break down and you might hit a deer and you're driving, no matter what, you have to get to the gig. So you have to drive in the worst conditions. You can't just be like calling sick and be like, nope, can't make it. You got to get there. And then, you get there and it's an unruly crowd and you just got to go up and the pay sometimes isn't great. And then like for most people, even just doing stand up in general is the most terrifying thing. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So that's when my friends were like, dude, like what you do is crazy. Like I would never do that. And I'm like, and I'm same thing with me and like the gov jobs. I'm
I
like,
tell them, I'm like, I could never do what you do.
Yeah.
The same place every day, boring ass shit.
Yeah. And if you have a good idea, like when I was at the government, I was there for like 4 months, like, you know, as a full-time employee on a contract. And I remember this one day, there was some meeting and I said something like, I had a really innovative idea. And I work with some engineers at the University of Ottawa Maker Lab. And I was like, if you guys want to mold this product, you don't have to get like injection molded. You can go to the 3D print lab and have it done for a tenth of the price, and it'll take you a tenth of the time, and it'll be way more cost effective, and you know everything. And so I was like, okay, I just made a great suggestion, and everybody at the meeting was like, man, that is an awesome suggestion. We're going to look into that. And then I got reprimanded.
Sorry, didn't mean to blow up everyone's ears. Unbelievable. Yeah, unfucking believable.
I got this one sort of director lady came up to me. She's like, well, what is it? I hear you're just talking about my project, you know, without my consent and suggesting things. I'm like, I was at a meeting. I was asked my opinion. I expressed it. That's all it is. I think I had a good idea. And then she was like, kind of like upset at me. And then afterwards, so then I was like, whatever. She had a big meeting with me and my supervisor. And I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I don't, you know, and like, this is the opposite of the private sector where people with innovative ideas and good ideas get promoted. Government people get reprimanded, and because you can't do anything, it's such a huge, ridiculous
what are you doing
organization.
Thinking outside the box, put your brain back in your cubicle.
This is the way it's done. Conform. And so then, like, you know, after my contract ended, she came up to me. I thought she was all mad. She's like, "Hey, you know what? I think I'd like you to be on my team. Would you want to come back to work on my team for a contract?" And I was like, "No, I don't." Like,
no thanks.
No, like,
yeah, that's the thing. I worked for Elections Canada for 3 months.
Yeah.
You know the people. You've worked for them too, because I remember when I went to vote the previous election, I saw you and a bunch of other comedians there, which is a great gig for comics. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, it's a great fucking gig for comics, because when they ask you like, hey, are you by any chance available Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for the next 3 months and only the next 3 months? Yeah. Right. And I think that's fucking perfect. Absolutely. Good money, everything like that.
Yeah.
What I didn't stop to think of was, hey, everyone else I'm working with also for some reason has this availability.
Yeah.
And they're not comedians.
Yep.
So who are these people I'm going to be working with?
I'll tell you.
And within a week's time, I went from being the lowest person on the totem pole. I remained in that position and that pay.
Yeah.
But I was helping people who were government retirees. All right. People who said that they worked for foreign affairs for 30 years or 40 years or whatever it is, like these big sections of the government that I would imagine would have some level of importance to them.
Yeah.
And I swear on everything I hold dear that I had to explain to somebody what the address bar was. I had to explain to them what right-clicking was.
Yeah.
And I had to explain to them what copy and paste means.
Jesus Christ.
But these are people for 30, 40 years worked in the government, and they have no idea what those basic things are. Like, I felt like a tech guy, and you know very well that I'm not a tech guy. I got the glasses and the gut, but that's just the costume. I don't know anything that goes along with it. And it's so funny to me because within a week's time, I'm like, here's how you do this. I'm the go-to for everything. Yeah. And I'm like, none of these people should be qualified. You have a great joke about that. As a matter of fact, how when you get a job in a good spot, you know, like you're like, oh shit, I'm so not qualified to have this job. Like, I can't believe I got this job. And then with 3 months in, you're like, how do any of these fucking people have this job? None of these people are qualified for this fucking job.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I'm shitting on the government and everybody who works there, basically half the city of Ottawa here. But it's like, no one who works for the gov, I don't think was like a super ambitious, you know, valedictorian A+ student. Because those people are getting paid hundreds of grands in the private sector.
You know what's funny? My mom listens to this podcast. She was an A+ student.
Really?
Yeah, but she works for the government.
But so what's, I mean, like.
I actually tend to agree with you, like the ambitious people. My mom, however, has a gigantic gap between when she was a student in school and when she started working for the government. So she didn't go, but so I tend to agree. I just think it's funny because when you're like, I'm shitting on government workers, I immediately thought of my mother, and then you started describing her academically. So I thought that was funny.
No, but like I think about this a lot where it's like, what makes someone go into the career they go into? Like, what makes, you know, someone go to the government or go to, you know, because everyone I went to
security.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, because you're absolutely right. Why would you go to a place where you know nobody's saying that the government is synonymous with innovation,
Right.
right? So the thing is, it's people who want to. I'm telling you. I mean, forgive me, and I totally took over what you were saying. I apologize,
go nuts.
but I think it's that a lot of people convince themselves. It's like, dude, I'm telling you right now. This is probably really. I might be the only one who thinks this way, but it's like, why would you become a stripper? Right? It's temporary. It's temporary. I just need to make some good money for now, for whatever the excuse is. I'm not saying, listen, more people waste their lives as government employees than strippers, right? Strippers eventually get out.
That's the first time that's been compared.
I'm telling you, at least in my mildly drunk from us drinking wine opinion, is that people get into the government not because they're innovative. They think, all right, I don't know. Like, how many people have philosophy or art or sociology fucking degrees and stuff like that? And the expectation is like, you got the degree, so you're going to go into the field.
Right.
You come out and you go, fuck, I'm not finding anything in that. And you don't want to work as a barista or somebody at like Walmart. You don't want a minimum wage job.
Yeah.
So what do? You apply to the government. You take what you can get.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that there's no urgency. Once you have a job, what's the urgency to keep looking for something to take what spare time you have? Because now you're working a job that's stressful. Government's stressful for anybody who's got a brain in their head, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm trying to innovate. I'm trying to make things more productive, and it gets kiboshed, just like the same situation that you were in.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden someone's like, hey, why don't you take all your spare time and go apply for other jobs in the field and go do interviews? And then you can be making the same amount you're making right now, or even maybe a pay cut.
Yeah.
Because you go in at entry level, which is less than the government. So you go, why the fuck am I going to take a step down? I'm already making that money. Yeah. And before you know it, just tick tock. And it's like you say, you wake up, you're 45 and you're like, what the fuck? Half of it, I can't get that time back. And now I'm 45 trying to get a job.
Yeah.
You know, that a 20-year-old's going after.
Buy a Corvette or whatever people do.
Yeah.
You know?
I really think, and it's the same as like the strip thing, right? I'm just trying to make some money right now for whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's basically, I'm saying strippers maybe just do it temporary and then get out, but it's the same mentality. I'm like, I don't want to do this, you know, but I'm going to do it for now until I make that money.
Jesus Christ. I was going to say, it's like, you know, career rape. It's like you're forced into doing this because there's nothing else out there.
Well, the amount of people, and some people, it's like they're 30 by the time they just go, all right, fuck it, I'll get the government job. Like,
yeah, but I mean, I think there's like the whole and especially now with social media and keeping up with, I mean, everyone feels like shit now because of social media. They go on Instagram, Facebook, and everything else where everybody just projects like this, you know, wonderful life that is absolutely fake.
Yeah.
And not real. And then they compare, people always compare other people's positives to their own negatives. They go, these people have all this, I have nothing. When really you probably do have quite a bit. And then, you know, they always do that cosmic, you know, discrepancy makes people go, oh, I need more money and I need more. I need to be more. I need to have more. And then that's an illness, I think, generally from our entire species. But it's, I think if you can recognize that and be like, you know what? I'm doing okay. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm as guilty as anyone of like trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
But now I'm aware of it and being like, I don't need that shit. I eat like, you know, really like between a millionaire and someone who makes whatever, 50,000 a year, like all you have to do is eat every day and drink like, you know, good, you know, water or whatever. And then you're going to live the same amount of time pretty much as that millionaire. So
yeah, that's the currency. That's the real currency.
Then ultimately you're just making all those millions to have a little bit, or you have more organic food, which is nice. But if you just make smart health or like dietary choices, you can eat pretty close to like a millionaire on like a,
well, and they're no happier. I truly believe this. I like the same competitive, maybe for lack of a better term, nature. Like when you and I are doing comedy, we strive for the growth, right? That mystery, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's a human nature tendency that moves from, you know, scarcity to an abundance. So when something's plentiful, there's no interest in it.
Yeah.
We get that way with relationships. If you have an abundance, like again, people who own for lack, you know, just recently, I met some people who own a winery, you know, or a wine making place, whatever the fuck it's called. Again, I don't know anything.
Vineyard.
But it's not a vineyard. It's the fucking, like they ship shit in, but it's like the bottle your own wine place, wine making, whatever the fuck. But I'm saying that, like, I guarantee those people are not crazy keen to go out and buy a bottle of wine. They probably have access to wine at all times. It's not something that ever concerns them. In fact, if you have access to something, again, abundance.
Yeah.
there's no desire for it. Right. So for like us, we're like, oh, I'd love to have a Corvette and I'd love to have the latest tech and I'd love to have a nice big house. But like for them, the rich, they have that. There's no danger of that going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? So they're not like, oh, I can't wait to go buy something. Like they just, all right, so what else? What do I not have? Maybe it's like a higher level of success or that comparison thing to, compare themselves on a fucking Forbes list of who's above them. I want to take that 6th spot. I want to move from 6 to, 7th to 6. Like, so it's all like, what do I not have? And when you bring up the social media thing, it's like, I've said this before, that's how I refer to it, is like you're looking at everybody's demo reel of their life.
Yeah.
People are showing the absolute best parts of their lives. And it affected me in the last relationship. Every time I disagreed with my girlfriend or anything like that, it was like, why do we fight? Like, look at everybody. If you look at everybody else is happy. Why aren't we happy? It's like, no, they're fucking not. They're showing you the best versions of themselves. It's not that they're happy. They're showing you the happy parts. I don't post a lot on social media because I don't think that there's a whole lot that I'm doing that's overly interesting. Do you know what I mean? And I too want to put the best version of myself out there. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to look like they're pulling up the rear in last place in terms of what they're projecting on social media. So I got to be honest with you. That's one of the things that I really, really enjoy about my podcast is that the more transparent I am about it and the more transparent with, guys like yourself, my guests who come on and just go, this is what I think. Yeah. And everything's not great all the time.
No, in fact, like if you read, I read a lot about depression because I suffer from it. And I, right now kids like, in high school have on average the same anxiety levels as a committed, like a mental patient in the 50s. There's also like, if you Google at school, there's a phrase or something, I think it's at school makes me feel, and it does the auto fill in.
Okay.
The first 6 words that come are school makes me feel depressed, suicidal, this and this, like just awful things. And in reality, like I think reality is the opposite of social media, where everybody is suffering, in sort of quiet desperation, to quote Thoreau, but and everybody's just projecting this image that's that they're not. It's like that,
right? And
it's really and that's why I've never been on social media. I just couldn't handle. I don't care enough really about strangers, trips to the grocery store.
Yeah, but it's disingenuous what it is. So it's rather than absorbing more of that. And everyone's to just process what you've got.
And I find you've talked to anybody, there's all these euphemisms like you're, just like, oh, live in the moment. You got to live in the moment. Well, you're not in the moment if you're constantly on your phone looking into other people's moments and other people's. So you take your own advice and put down your fucking phone for 10 minutes or whatever, and actually, but then the reality of your own life that, sitting in an empty room alone or something is going to make you depressed. So then you go back to what, just that dopamine fix that you're getting from social media. And
there's a lot of people who have like a ton of cry for helps on there too.
Oh,
like,
really?
Well, if you see the reaching out, like having a bad day, frowny face. And at first I used to get frustrated because it's like, okay, they want everybody to be, what's wrong? Like to pry, right? Other people to show interest and pry. And, I mean, but the sad thing is that it is a cry for help. I need attention. It is. I feel myself at times feeling something and just wanting to throw it out to the universe, but then immediately recognizing what it is I'm doing, I just go, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
If I want to do that, I'll actually reach out for another human being and I'll own my feelings rather than being like, I'm just sad, and then making other people, I guess it's to create the illusion that like other people are really concerned, but it's like you throw that out there, people are gonna be like, oh, what's going on? But I'm like, why? You know what? If you need to talk about something, just talk about it. Call somebody or post your real feelings on there.
Yeah.
If that's what you want. If you want attention to your feelings, then just put them out there and own them. Again, I'm not suggesting that that's really the right thing to do. But I know I've seen that. You see people projecting their perfect lives. So that's one illusion, right? Or the other, I guess, illusion or method is to, just say something and then have it be like, well, that's all I'm just trying to say I'm not happy right now. Well, why would you say that then? You want people to ask. You want people to engage in that. So it's a lot. I don't know. It's not real. It's like reality television. As soon as you can edit it and shape it, then it's not the reality of what happened.
Yeah.
It's
well, I think it's giving, we are willfully giving away our own, reality and our own, the human experience to something that we've created, which is technology. And I truly believe we're the architects of our own extinction, and that the only thing that's real now is social media, right? Or the frame. What, if you've ever read any Adbusters stuff, this Cal Lawson, the guy who created Adbusters.
What is that, if you don't mind, just to give context?
Adbusters it's a magazine. It was in the 90s, and it was basically just the anti-culture or the counterculture to advertising media. So
Hicks would have loved that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, Bill Hicks was huge against fucking advertising.
I'm sure he would read every episode, every edition. But so we right now we say ultimately kind of subconsciously that our reality is shit, and the only thing that matters is what's on TV, what's on the internet, what's on Instagram.
Right.
And so we are just giving our own life experience to those those frames, whatever in the frame, and it's really not doing us as humans any great progress or service.
Right.
We're just saying technology is what we value the most. It's what's the most real, and we are going to pretty much disown ourselves and put our own souls pretty much into this technology and photos of ourselves. And it's really this weird time in the human experience right now, in the human existence, that it's eventually, really, why do we need humans anymore?
Right.
Technology is doing everything. It's taking everybody's job. Like, who knows? Driverless cars are going to be coming out. You're going to eliminate at least 10 to 15% of the workforce who drive trucks, taxis, blah, blah, blah. Everybody who drives for a living, Ubers, everything. So right there, it's extremely...
Yeah, we're building our own replacements.
Absolutely. And we're doing it like with great joy, which is...
Yeah, we're excited. Look what I made.
Yeah.
Just okay.
Yeah. And, it's a weird time to be a human, I think. Like, even 25 years ago, before the internet happened, like, you went outside, you saw people, you could talk to them on the phone maybe, but it wasn't... You could reach out to Australia and look at photos from Australia in a second. It's... I don't know. I'm not concerned. I'm curious to see what's going to happen to this.
There's theorists who said that mankind, person kind,
right? Yeah.
That's relevant for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That humankind has actually evolved to the point that we are at now, and we've destroyed ourselves. I think they say 4 or 5 times already. Like, we've already gotten as far as we are now.
Right.
And we've destroyed ourselves and gotten back here and destroyed ourselves and gotten back here and destroyed ourselves. And I feel, and they say that we're getting to the the precipice of where that happens.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we're making ourselves to the point where we don't need ourselves anymore.
Right.
We're making smarter and smarter. Like, they're building intelligent life, or artificial intelligence, I apologize, into humanoid things now, like to make artificial human beings.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking like a, Terminator Skynet kind of thing, but it's just more or less that we're building our own obsolescence.
Absolutely. 100%.
You know what I mean? So that we're like, you don't need us for bank machines. And that's a long time now.
Yeah.
We haven't needed human beings for, tellers.
Yeah.
And then the self-checkout thing, right?
Yeah.
And then now we don't need to drive our own cars.
Yeah.
Well, it started with you don't need to own our own cars with Uber. Now where they're working on, you don't even need anybody to drive a car.
Yeah.
And why would you have this when you can have that? Don't do this because they can do that. Don't call the operator because you can Google it. Don't do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that just, you won't need. I heard a comic on satellite radio the other day, and I apologize, I cannot remember who they were. And I'm not even 100% sure it was satellite radio, but I think it was, who was saying how, like, they were talking about their, like, to-do list from 10 years ago or whatever. And they were talking about all the different things that they have to do now. And this does that for me. This does that for me. And she's like, I just realized that my life doesn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way to look at it, is just we're building ourselves out of everything.
And it seems that, from whatever you talk to, mental illness has gone through the roof as technology has also progressed sort of in the same way, in the same time. And it's like, is it because, really in life, what do you do? Life is not that important. You get up, you eat, you sleep, you have sex once in a while.
Yeah, we talked about that before the podcast.
Yeah. And then you
Geoff
die.
and I are on hiatus right now.
Self-imposed, not really. But that's it. Like, you don't have a lot to do in life. But we create, like, business is just busyness. That's all it is.
You're right.
And we create our own little agendas, our own little, things we have to fulfill. And then when technology takes those away, we realize like we have too much time to think and go, wait, what's my purpose here? And like, I think there's a lot of correlation between technology and mental illness. And I was reading this thing where, in the 50s, sort of television became the destruction of the community, where everyone once would go out to their street and block and just have a discussion and see what's going on in the world. Oh, did you hear about this? This happened here. And then you got TV. So everybody went inside and they started just watching their own little TV to get their news. So now the community is not really a community much anymore.
And you didn't get your information from multiple sources, therefore less, different biases or whatnot. Now you're getting it only from one source, which means you're getting only that one
point of view.
Yeah.
And so then people believe that to be gospel and truth. And then, in the 90s, we had the internet come in, and that became the destruction of the family, where once a family, you could be alone with your family and watching the TV together, but now there's one of the kids is off on the internet checking out fucking porn or whatever they're doing. So now
that's what I was doing.
Sure.
Patiently waiting for all those lines of data to load in the picture.
God, it was a great time. So much anticipation. But and then, so the family kind of went to shit when the internet kind of came. And then now with smartphones and every single human being, in the first world has their own device, it's the destruction of the self, where you can't be at peace with your own self anymore because you're constantly inundated with, everything in the world. Like it's a mini God in your pocket. You have access to every piece of information, every photo, everything you could possibly imagine, and you lose your sense of self.
Right.
So it's really interesting. And then, once you're gone, once the self is gone, what's left? So it's I don't know, it's going to be a really interesting next decade or so to see where humanity goes from here.
100%. Dude, this is the worst comedy podcast.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
No, I love these conversations. And just for anyone listening, every time Geoff and I go do a gig fucking 2-3 hours away, we have conversations. We get to just fucking sit and enjoy intelligent.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like, wow, you guys are really not as funny off stage. And they say that all the comics. It's because I tell people all the time that when we joke, those are like the exhaust fumes of processing all this fucking serious shit all the time. Like we think about this kind of shit all the time, and then the funny is just the exhaust.
Yeah,
and the whole thing too. Like I find, I guess I'm not scoffing at anything. At least I hope I'm not. I don't know, but I know people who know a lot of things. They know a lot of trivia. They can name the capital of every country in the world, what have you. Mm-hmm. But personally, I'm not impressed by that anymore because theoretically, or in application, I can pull out my phone and know the answer to these questions in 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So to know something, it used to be impressive. Talk to Bill.
Yeah.
Right. He can name fucking every capital of every state or whatever it is. Right. Which is an impressive feat to be able to store that information and then be able to recall it, bring it up when it's needed. But now if it's like, someone could look at you and go, do you know the capital of fucking Kenya?
Yeah.
I don't even know if Kenya has a capital because I'm an idiot, but I could pull my phone and there you go. See, you're smart. But I would go 1 second, pull up my phone. Yes. I know the capital of, I can look at it now. So for me, it's always been an application of knowledge. Like it's great to know something, but what are you doing with that knowledge?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Like it's been an interesting thing. And of course, to be able to access everything and to see your life and compare it, like that is what I don't know who's responsible for the saying, the quote, but it is, the comparison is the death of happiness. Because it doesn't matter what you do, what you achieve. If as soon as you start comparing with somebody else,
it's over.
Right? Well, I mean, because there's like look at Zuckerberg, right? How much money he has over, but you can always be like, okay, well, somebody else got more.
Yeah.
Somebody else did it faster. Somebody else, like if you're always comparing, you're always going to find a way to not be happy with where you are, what you have, what you've achieved, all those things. You can just compare them right the fuck away from yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a big fan of quotes and things like that say, you don't have to be better than anybody else. You just have to be better than you were. Hold yourself to a standard of growth and things like that. And that's how you don't destroy yourself. Like you said, it's in your hand. And at any time you can find people who look happier than you.
And that's the thing too. I mean, certainly it's all image based and it's all physical appearance, which, it's starting to be with guys, but I've always felt sort of bad for women in that, like now is especially more than ever. It's like you can you fix yourself up on Photoshop and you look absolutely completely fake and beautiful, but then women think that's reality and they're like, oh my God, to compete I have to be that beautiful, and it's total bullshit. Like I honestly, like the most beautiful women for me are women that have something to say that I'm really interested in and are smart and are at least insightful and are kind. Like there's certainly in Ottawa there's a lot of beautiful women, like physically they're like a dime a dozen. You can, but if you have
nothing to say,
if you have nothing to say, then you're not. I can look at you for 5 minutes before I'm more interested in someone else who's actually really got a personality.
Exactly. It's like a big screen television. You're like, whoa, isn't that cool? And then very quickly you're like, there's nothing on though.
Yeah.
All right, let's go do something else.
But that's the thing that like a lot of women strive for is they spend 80%. Or I don't know the stats or whatever, but
just make them up. That's how I run this podcast. Yeah, just make
a lot of, sadly, a lot of young girls go, it's only value is my physical appearance, and it's sad because they don't develop much else of their. I mean, this is such a huge statement, and I don't mean all young women.
Don't worry about it. I take shit on this podcast occasionally.
Okay,
you're a good, genuine person. you communicate it. I'll work damage control on the back end.
Jesus, be fucking impress yourself. Impress. Just be funny and nice and kind.
Educate yourself.
Not educate, but I mean, no, but be smart. Like,
there's a lot of terms that sound negative. That aren't.
I know everything.
Do you know what I mean? Like, but you're right. But everybody educate ourselves.
Yeah, fuck, I'm an idiot. But it's like,
no, but this is the thing. It's like it's selective. And that's why communication is so important. If I may be so bold as to try to paraphrase what you're saying, is the idea is that when you come to the table, like right now, you've said some things to me that I never heard before that are fascinating, that I'll also get the wheels turning on me to contribute my own thoughts on it. But that's why it's so fun to come to the table with something. It's great that your fucking hair is flawless. And for guys too, you fucking idiots lifting heavy shit all goddamn day so you have the perfect abs and all that, and getting your fucking hair done, spending your entire day working for money so you can, take someone out to dinner, you look flawless so you can fuck them at the end. All right? There's people on both sides of the gender thing. I know gender's not a word anymore, but
it isn't? No, okay.
What I'm saying is that if you don't come to the table with something to, I don't know, to reflect on, something to contribute, all right? It's great that you look great. Get your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, come, offer something new, stimulate somebody intellectually as well. And I don't mean come to the table and talk politics. I'm just saying, fucking have an opinion, have your own thought that you have enough conviction in that you stand behind it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Have something to say.
Like it's great. You look
I'm
at
drunk.
At a photo.
Sorry, I'm just kidding.
You look at a picture and you're like, wow, that girl looks interesting or whatever. And then you unless the caption or whatever she's talking about, like in her write-up, I'm talking about dating profiles, or just like Instagram or whatever. Like I'm not even on these fucking things, but through osmosis, I've seen it. Everybody has it, so I know what it's about. Like that's the most interesting part to me, is to read like, oh shit, that girl said something really cool. Like
yeah. So, there's I have women in my life. Like again, I'm not trying to take it back to where it's like, I start drinking and now my pain comes out. But that's one of the things that I loved about Crystal, is that she was somebody who had something to say. Do you know what I mean? She was a beautiful woman who had something to say. And I enjoyed having conversations with her. Like she knew, and I think you're the same way, and not to project on you, but you and I've had conversations where there's a lot of people. Sorry, I see a text message coming in. I usually put my iPad on there. My brother just texted, you should call your podcast Josh's Reviews. But I'm the kind of person, but I do get bored with people very quickly. And there's no part of me that thinks I'm better than a lot of people. In fact, when I'm by myself, I'm usually the hardest on myself, in the sense that I try to hold myself to standards and go, dude, you don't fucking know how to do taxes properly. You don't know this.
Yeah.
You don't know shit about politics. Even though I am pretty politically aware. Yeah. It's like, you don't know shit about politics. You don't know how the fucking, if you had to buy it, get a mortgage, do you even know the lawyers and the bank conversations? Like I feel like I know nothing.
Right. Yeah.
But the amount of conversations that I get into, like I feel that unless it's about mechanical stuff, like on a car, anything car automotive related, or maybe one or two other things in this universe, I can be a part of a conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in a humble way to say that I don't really know this, but I got this to contribute.
Yeah.
I just find so many people in regular conversations will sit stone faced, and I don't know if it's an introverted thing. I'm not trying to say it's because they don't know. It might just be how they communicate.
Right.
But I get tired of people quickly because
because they're scared to say what's on their mind or what they really think. They're scared to say they're depressed. They're scared to say they're upset. They're scared to say, I'm really happy because I fucking did this little tiny thing in a video game that to you it's meaningless, but to me it's the world. So it's what we're conditioned to say and respond to.
I forgot. I meant this. I wrote this down and I forgot to say it on my podcast last night because it was so fucking late when I recorded it.
Right.
But I told everybody how you and I went to that goofy board game store or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That fucking dickhead didn't didn't tell me when I called that I don't have what you're looking for. Even though I was like, yeah, come on in. We'll get it for you. But I was saying, I forgot to tell them how on the way back, you're like, I'm not into that shit, but I wish I was. Like, good for these fucking nerds, like reading comic books and playing Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. They're like, yeah, I don't like this reality. Fuck it. I'm going to exist.
Absolutely, man. They've chosen their own reality, which is great. I mean, whether it's on a board game or a computer game, like, or it's, why is someone who's playing Dungeons and Dragons any different than someone's obsessed with Instagram? You're both on your fucking computer. You're obsessed with something. It doesn't matter. Like,
it's not real.
It's not real. Exactly.
But it's real to that person,
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. You're saying you're getting bored with people. And I think that's like, kind of like,
it's just that I can't stay in the conversation. So with Crystal, she used to see how disinterested I was with other people. And I'm not a piece of shit. Like I'm very kind to people too, because kindness doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that if it was my choice, like, hey, do you want to go out and have a conversation with a bunch of strangers at a bar? Fuck no.
Yeah, no.
Do you know what I mean? No. But because more often than not, I'm not. But I mean, that's why you and I get along so well, is that we can actually have conversations where we're both contributing things. I feel like you bring new concepts and ideas to a conversation that I don't have. I would hope that occasionally I do the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but that's the thing. People are. It's this expectation that you always have to be entertaining. You always have to be, like in a relationship, right? You live with someone. What always happens is the way my relationships and I would suspect many people's relationship goes is you meet someone for the first 3 to 6 months, it's fucking fireworks. It is great. You love this person. They're so interesting. They can do no wrong. And then you get a little further in the first year and you're like, we get along really well. We don't, you don't live together yet, but things are going great. They're just still on the same wavelengths. You have the same ideals and everything. And then you move in and you're together and then you got to face your reality of every day of, you both wake up, you don't look, you're not made up. You have to be with each other not 24 hours, but you're all the time. And suddenly you're not as interesting as when you saw that person once or twice a week or whatever.
Right.
Because it's just, and then it becomes, people get disenchanted with the relationship. They're like, oh, it's boring. It's monotonous. He always does this. She always does that. I'm getting sick of this. It's because you're constantly together. And I don't think that's,
do you think that's what it is?
I don't think it's that, like being like, okay, if you and I
don't think you're wrong. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, if I was to live with you, Josh, and sleep in your fucking bed every night, and
you're so attractive, buddy. I'd be doing very well.
I would fucking hate you. Not hate you.
Really?
But I would be yelling at you and be more annoyed with you than if I see you once or twice a week. We hang out for 3 hours and we
absence
have fun.
Makes the heart grow fonder.
For sure. And I think that the way
Jason says, I can't miss you if you won't go away, which is less romantic.
But like, it's just, I think that's the thing. Like you can't expect someone to be this, have all these new stories. Like every day you see the same person. So you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen in your day and I know there's nothing new. But if you see them once a week, you're like, oh, what happened this week? Oh, I got some shit to tell you. So it's like, I think the design of the common relationship or traditional relationship has been, it's almost like too much time together. From, I analyze a lot of couples who I know and see, and the ones that I think thrive the most or are the best compatible are the ones that have their own little lives. They're like, the lady's doing something at night. She's got a hobby. He's got another hobby. They work in different areas. And then when they see each other, for the brief time in the week, they're like, hey, we're happy to see you. I'm happy to be there. But it's, I don't know.
I don't disagree, but it's funny. I think that the problem is, when the relationship is new, everyone's presenting their best self.
Sure. Yeah.
No vulnerability, no flaws. So the idea is that the standard or the expectations that you set is that everybody's perfect. And then once you start to get comfortable and right, again, that scarcity, right? This person's new. I got to be the best. They may not be around if I'm not the best version of myself. Then that abundance things that we talked about earlier. Now they're around all the time. There's no worries. I can stop holding in my farts and all that funny stuff. You know what I mean? You could pick your nose in front of them. Not that these are the first two things that I go for.
Yeah.
But the idea is that you start to actually be okay with the idea that, oh, I'm a human being and they're a human being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that, I don't know, because I'm single now. I keep toying with the ideas of like, how am I going to do it next time? Am I just going to be like, look, I'm a human being. There's part of me that's just want to be like, look, here's like the top 3 things that I can think about myself that are embarrassing that you may hate.
Yeah.
And then go, and I'm sure that one's not going to work the first time. So it's going to be like an act.
Right.
Because a reminder, we are comedians, right? As much as we're talking deeply, and you just try your all right, that didn't work. All right, next time I'm going to try it this way and see how it goes. And you keep polishing that presentation until it works. But I think that a lot of it is just that like we do kind of like, once everything stops, like you said, that honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Once that wears off, the fireworks are gone. It's like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I am a bit of a romantic in the sense that I know a lot of quotes and things like that on love. And I love, this one is one that I'm particularly fond of. It says like, true love is not finding the perfect person. It's seeing someone's imperfections perfectly.
That's nice.
Yeah. Not mine. I didn't,
Yeah.
but I like the idea of that. Do you know what I mean? I like the idea that I can see someone like I don't know. When I first heard that quote, if you can't deal with me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Yeah. At first I was like, oh, that's almost, it felt like a blanket sweep to get rid of your problems. Like, oh, you got to fucking put up with me. But the truth is if you can't be, I feel within reason, at the end of the day is if you can't be there for someone, if you can't be someone's partner, if you can't give them love when they need it, do you know what I mean? Like you don't want to be a fair weather boyfriend or girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, I want you, but I only want you when you're pristine. And it's like, no, it's like, that's what a partnership is and whatever. Yeah. Geoff and I are going to be doing a live couples counseling. That's some phenomenon. But yeah, dude, I mean, like this is the kind of shit that you and I will talk about. We're only at the hour mark.
Only an hour?
Only an hour. But no, because
like
we've
5.
had conversations like this for 2-3 hours just on the way to a show.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I actually told people on this podcast, I think it was in my 3rd episode, was when the podcast was fresh. But that time we drove to God knows where, Ontario. Yeah. Where you and I were driving and we're like, oh, look at all these nice houses. I could live in a place like this. And I pulled up my phone to find out where we are and I had no service. I'm like, I can't live here. I can't live in a place with no cell phone reception. And then on the way back, that very kind couple invited us to go see the cabins or whatever. Yeah, that retreat. And then they were like, watch out, let me go first. There's bears. And I'm like, well, I'm dead. Yeah. I'm dead. I'm like, I think the only thing I know is to punch a bear in the nose. Yeah. So I was telling people about that story. I'm like, you're like, all these people know this area is pitch black. And I'm like, if a bear comes, I'm not the fastest one. I'm dead. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's, I like those are the fun. Like, I mean, it's as weird and fucking insane as these shows are. Like it's more interesting to me than, going to an office. Yeah. You got the craziest thing happened today. It was Helen's going away party and they got her a chocolate cake, but Helen doesn't like chocolate. I know a girl who doesn't like chocolate. What's up with that? But it's like those are the office stories, right? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I thought I was going to get eaten by a bear. Remember when they showed us that fucking cab, like the little storage shed, and they're like, oh, you can see here where a bear broke down the door. I'm like, I'm fucking dead. The whole time I was like, dead. I was more scared of the people. I was like, nobody's this kind. Nobody's like kill us. Yeah, they invite us to this crazy, retreat cabin place just to show us around. I was like, we're fucking dead, man. Yeah, but again, you're faster than me, and they're gonna. You know how long it's gonna take for them to carve me up? That's what I was comforted by. I was like, I'm outrunning Josh, so it's all good. That's so funny. Yeah. Oh, here's so why don't we just throw this in here? It's podcast related. Okay. My brother text messaged me. You haven't given a medical update on, Jesus Christ, on your CT scan, by the way. Don't know if you got, this is how I read emails now. I just get a text message. Nobody emails it. Yeah, you haven't given a medical update on your CT scan, by the way. Don't know if you got the results. Because of my fatty liver, I had a fibro scan done. You should have Dr. Girth send you for one.
Dr. Girth.
That's my name. Right. I'm a fat guy. My doctor's name is Girth.
That's incredible.
Fucking everything is goddamn. The universe loves just sticking its thumb in my fucking face. Send you for one. It will tell you if you have cirrhosis or not. Because I haven't got enough shit, dude. I got diabetes. I have a fatty liver, fatty pancreas. I got a hernia. I'm stupid. I'm on the spectrum in some way. I'm certain of it.
Yet you have a podcast. That's very fascinating.
Right? Yeah, but everybody can. What's his face there? I'm sure William Hung has got podcasts. I'm not saying he's on the spectrum.
That's the name you go with?
I don't know anything. Dude, that's the point of this whole podcast. Listen to a guy who doesn't know shit, pretend like he's enlightened. What does it say? Yeah, my brother's like, you should see if you have cirrhosis or not. You should really know. I have it. And sorry, Aaron, by the way, if this is something you didn't want on the podcast because I'm reading it. And I'm drunk. You should really know I have it, and I've only been overweight for 3 years. You can tell him my result is 13.7 kPa if he needs a benchmark.
Publicly
well, that wasn't very interesting.
Medical advice or medical results.
Meh.
Yeah.
Again, I apologize, but I'm drunk. If he gets really upset, I can take the episode down entirely based on his 13.7 kPa. Which, do you know what kPa means?
No.
I think honestly,
not kilopascals.
No, kilopascals isn't that a temperature?
I don't know. It's a unit of pressure, isn't it?
We don't know anything. Yeah. We just lost all credibility for being intelligent and enlightened by doing this at a moment's time. So it's so funny. I think if someone wants to stalk my brother and find out what all this shit means, I think they deserve to.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, I mean, we've done a ton of shows that, like I said, at the end of the day, all this shit that we have that we're talking about and processing, I'd still like the adventure of maybe getting murdered in the woods by either a bear or two incredibly nice people.
German couple. Yeah.
Were they German?
The one guy was from Germany. The lady was Canadian. But.
Oh, I didn't. If I'd known that, I never would have done. But you and I've done like we did shows for. We did that kids hockey tournament one where they didn't give.
You did pretty good. I did. I bailed early.
What was it that they asked me to do? Dab? Was it dab or whatever? I guess pictures of these kids. Like the parents didn't give a fuck that we were there.
No.
But the kids
swinging in the
loved
background.
us.
Yeah.
The kids absolutely loved us. I have pictures of me entertaining children. And those are the days where I'm like, it was fun, but what the fuck am I doing with my life?
Oh, that's every day for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Geoff and I, we were the entertainment for the last day of the Muslim Association of Canada's. What was that, Ramadan?
Yeah.
They had like 1,500 Muslims. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just worried.
Yeah.
It was 1,500 Muslims. Now, I had done a show for them a few months prior. They liked me, so they hired me to come back. Were you on that show too?
Yeah, you and me went to the
one on Colonnade?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were on that, so I didn't want to throw you under the bus.
No,
you were part of the show. Yeah. So Geoff and I had done this show, and wasn't it funny? We walked in. So here's another thing that comics get. We were not really respected in the sense people don't really know what it is we do. So Geoff and I come to the show, and Geoff and I have written material. We've spent a lot of time coming up with our own ideas and writing our own material. We walk in the door, and the guy's like, hey, if you guys want to do something like the debaters or whatever, feel free to, go ahead and do that because we like the debaters. And we're like, well, we haven't written anything for that. And he goes, well, if you just want to do something that somebody else has done, we're like, yeah, that's not how our business works. We don't just steal someone else's material and regurgitate it. So we did a show for them. They had a great time. So they basically reached out to us to do their show again. They wanted it, but this time they wanted some debaters type material. So Geoff and I, two Caucasian, basically, like the enemy right now. If you look at the social climate right now, they hired the enemy to perform at the last day of Ramadan celebration for the Muslim Association of Canada, and we proceeded to do and they actually liked it.
Yeah, the 8 people paying attention out of the 1,500.
Out of the 1,500, the 8 paying attention. But that was another thing too, because Geoff and I walked in and we're like, oh God, this is going to be death.
Oh yeah, you can tell as a comic after you've done this for several years, you can look at a room and you can project with probably 80% accuracy, this is going to go horribly or this is going to go okay.
We did follow Ray's Reptiles. So after the children got to pet live alligators, they have Geoff and Josh arguing about whether men are lazy or not.
Oh my God.
And I think that just looking at me, the answer was yes.
Yeah.
And then listening to both of our presentations, the answer is yes.
I once did a show. It was for a women's shelter, a fundraiser for a women's shelter. And the act that was up before me, they read a poem about a dead child.
Oh my God.
And then they're like, and here's the comedian. And it was rough, man. It was really rough.
Some people don't really know how to set the stage for comedy. You know, like dessert and coffee go together.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, wine and cheesecake. Do those go together? I hope they don't. Yeah. That was the example I was going for.
I think they do. I've never eaten cheesecake in my whole life, and I never will.
It's going to kill you, right?
No, it's just I have a vendetta against it. Whereas like everybody,
a vendetta against cheesecake?
Yeah.
Well, guess what, buddy? You just pissed off half the women that may have fucked you in the future.
That's fine. There's
a vendetta against cheesecake?
No, I've every like my whole I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was a kid, so like it was highly sugar. So I just never ate it until I was like I was never even offered it until I was like late teens. And then somebody's like, "Hey, have some cheesecake," and I was like, "You know what? No, I am gonna go through my whole life without eating this like, this delicious cheesecake that everybody so claims is so great."
So was this childhood Disney pact that you made with yourself? I'm never eating cheesecake.
Yeah, it was. And I've been at restaurants where like this waiters have overheard me saying like, "No, I've never eaten cheesecake, never will." They've come back with a free slice of cheesecake and be like, "You got to eat it here, man. It's so good." I'm like, "Nope, never gonna happen." So
that's the thing. But even like deathbed shit, you're not gonna be like, "Look, I made it. I stuck to my shit." But I do want to know. There's like you have that strong of a will.
Yeah, I've looked at it. I've smelled it. I was like, it doesn't look that good.
The smell is not the same as the taste.
See, that's suspect.
So you've had bacon.
I've had bacon, yeah.
So imagine I told you I know somebody who's just decided that fuck you, I'm never trying bacon.
Yeah.
Would there not be a small part of you like, dude, you gotta fucking try
I would
it? It is one of the most flavored.
I'd be like,
you would
good for
champion
you,
it. Fuck
absolutely.
you. I think it's
absolutely.
Really?
Like, never try it. Never fucking come down to our level. It's like
never come down to our. Well, what if it was something else? I don't know. That part of me is fascinated by that because I have a friend who's like, "Oh, I'd never eat pork." I'm like, but
yeah.
And I guess it's almost like, well, why try bacon when you're just gonna love it and want it? You know what? I have that same thought on cocaine. Surprisingly enough, I mean, your two guys' things are totally legal for you to try. But I'm just saying, I know my personality, and there's part of me that's like, I can't try cocaine. Everybody raves about it. I guarantee you, is one of the few things in the world that would have a constant 5-star review. But I'm just like, I know my personality. Why try something that odds are I'm going to enjoy? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If I started to develop a thing for it, I'd probably lose weight because you don't eat or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
You move around a lot. So I get it. I think you're just like, you know what? It seems to be a very popular thing. Why would I try it? Is there any part of you is that, or are you just fucking fuck you cheesecake? Everyone loves stubborn. You, and I'm not having you.
Absolutely. It's like I don't disclose my age. I like the mystery too much of certain
Jeff's
things.
56, by the way.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But there's like I like leaving some unknowns out there. Like it definitely. Like cheesecake,
you wouldn't eat cheesecake if two supermodels were like, "You take a bite, we'll fuck you."
Just to be I would encourage me more not to eat it.
Really, so that you could say, "You know what? I have not." There was two.
I don't care about saying to
you,
people,
Steve, my fucking waiter. You think you're gonna put it on me? I turned down two supermodels.
I don't care what I have to say to people. I'm just like, I am sticking to this conviction. You can come with, you can have fucking, whoever, Heidi Klum or whoever in her heyday.
In her heyday, you have the ones picked out. I think she was outstanding too. But I love that you have the ones picked out. You're like, I know who I would fuck.
But
there's nothing on this earth
it would make me try cheesecake. I don't give.
I'm telling you, I would fucking gack up a rail if it was two supermodels. I would do that.
No,
and that would be the last thing.
Then
that would be me on the street. Yeah, but I'd be on the street and I'd have that. I don't know.
You got to control.
I'm a weak person.
You got to be like in control of like. It's like being tortured until that I would fucking die before I would give up like information that I didn't want to give up.
Really?
Just out of total spite.
I have a fear of I'm just being totally transparent. I think my fear of death. I don't think I could die if someone's like, "What's Jeff's age?" I know it. I think I would give that up.
I would almost. I would like love the opportunity to just put my middle finger up and be like, "Fuck you, kill me. I'm not eating that cheesecake," or whatever.
Really? So life or death?
I'm that stubborn and that spiteful where I'm just like, this is my conviction, and if you're trying so hard to persuade me to break it, fuck you.
I'm almost like if I ever catch you having a diabetic seizure, I want to put a spoonful of cheesecake in your mouth. Just
my God.
Guess what I did to you? I saved your life, but guess what? I have pictures and fucking you're like,
So I had this idea for like
that's because sugar would save you, right?
It would. And
I've asked. Now just before we go back to the funny, I do want to say that Geoff is a good friend of mine, and I do love this guy very much. I love working with him. He's a good person. And I've asked a few times because I forget the procedures. Geoff is diabetic, and I've said to him before. I'm like, dude, if you ever have a seizure and we're together, like, what should I do in that instance? You know, because I would hate for I'm the only person there to help you.
Yeah.
You die because I didn't know what to do.
Right.
And you've always educated me that just, so for anybody who's got a friend who may be diabetic, is it the same generally speaking?
Yeah.
If you start seizing up, what is this now? Can you, again,
Orange
we'll go back
juice, Coke, something liquid that they're not going to
What are the warning signs?
So if you're in you have a low blood sugar, you're going to be like really disoriented, maybe angry. Just, you seem like drunk and you're just like, you're not yourself. And that lasts about 15 or 20 minutes before you hit the ground and you are probably convulsing. So yeah, basically there's not enough sugar in your body to get to your cells, to, get to your brain, to tell you how to operate life. So yeah, basically just.
And generally speaking, all the shit that we should give you is the stuff that's going to kill you on a regular basis.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
poison is very selective.
It's true. But yeah, no, it's just give everybody as much sugar as you can fucking throw at them.
So you don't have like, there's no limit. Chug orange juice, whatever. Like,
well, until I'm revived, until I'm like, hey man. But yeah, then it's like cut that shit out after that. But
if I put a spoonful of cheesecake in your mouth while you're starting to be that guy, that might help save you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd resent you for it. I'd be like,
Would you really?
Killed me. You fucking you gave me cheesecake, you son of a. I had an idea for like a sitcom episode where like there's this lady who's choking on whatever, and this guy like starts like, he does a Heimlich maneuver on her and he saves her life, but as he does it, he grabs a feel of her tits. And he's just like, and so then
that's the paying the toll kind of
yeah
thing.
And then she's like she gets like all revived and everything, and she's fine, and she's like, but I think he kind of sexually assaulted me. And then does she go back to him and be like, you did save my life, but you sexually assaulted me, so I'm going to take you to court? Or is he like, that's it, lady, I get to grab your boobs because I saved your life? Like,
so it's okay. So here's my issue with that. He could have saved her life without doing that. However, I stuffed cheesecake in your mouth. Let's just say it's one of those situations where it's a fucking dinner show and the only thing that they had left on the dessert bar was that there wasn't any Coke. There wasn't time for me to jump the fucking bar across the room. I grabbed a slab of that. Never happened. We know that. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So let's say there wasn't time. Let's just say I just wasn't capable of jumping the bar. I'm like, all right, the cheesecake. So that is one of those like, well, that's how he had to save his life. I didn't have to cop a feel. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give you a happy ending and then save your life.
Yeah. I mean, like,
I'm trying to get the blood flowing again.
You've ruined my life's work, Josh, avoiding cheesecake. But no, yeah, I would be thrilled that you saved my life. But I'd be like, really? The cheesecake, Josh?
Would you be able to convince yourself that because you weren't conscious and you didn't taste it, you did? That's how you restructure
I would make you swear. I'd be like, I never ate cheesecake. You saw this. You saved me with a
can of Coke.
You'd
be living a lie at that point. You'd be no better than all the people you despise. I got to start drinking every time I do a podcast. I'm having more fun just loosening up. I'm less terrified that I'm going to get, canceled. Can't cancel a fucking free show.
You're the person that would cancel it.
Dude, it's like we were talking about before. Everyone's afraid of saying what they think or feel. I'd like to think that I'm a good person, that I don't hate anybody and I'm not trying to hurt anybody.
Right, yeah.
But the only time I ever got in shit on my podcast was when I was trying to educate and share information. I won't go into that. We've talked about it before.
Right.
But I'm just like, so it's so funny. But I have a little bit of wine here, like a couple of fancy bitches, and we loosen up a little bit, share some ha-has.
I cannot tolerate, every comic who's a comic is completely intolerant of this culture of political correctness and that your opinion counts. If I say something that's truly derogatory, like a horrendous statement, then yeah, call me out on it. But if I make an innocuous little vignette in whatever I'm saying, and you take it the wrong way. Like, it's like, I had this whole other kind of idea for a sketch where, some guy was abused by his dad with a chair. when he was a kid. So then like he's going to this group and, for abused people, and he's like, okay, can you just take out all the chairs from the room? Because, I was abused by a chair and nobody. So then the guy's like, the curator of the group is like, okay, everybody, no chairs. Everybody's like, well, we got to sit on the floor. Yes, we must sit on the floor. Well, I have a bad back, so we can't sit on the floor. Okay, everybody, we have to take out the floor. There's no floor anymore. It just gets like, just because you have a fucking opinion about something, or you're slightly offended by someone who didn't actually maliciously say anything, I kind of think
and they need to cater to these fucking.
Go fuck yourself. That's honestly, really, that's what I feel.
You are the cheesecake to Geoff in that moment.
Absolutely.
That should happen. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And when I did the interview with Pete Johansson, Pete was saying that like we're trying to grow. And this, I'm paraphrasing, just overall the conversation. We are trying to grow. Pete was saying that people need to be able to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like people need to, and it's not deliberately going out and trying to do them, but to be able to make a mistake, because that's where we learn and grow from. We learn from our mistakes. And right now, everybody's afraid of everything. You're afraid to talk. You're afraid to think something because it might not be correct. Danny Polachuk, who a little plug for him, is hosting Absolute Comedy all week.
Funny.
Yeah,
Very funny.
He did a spot in January when I was in Absolute in Toronto, and he had this great joke where he was, and I apologize, it's not going to be 100% verbatim, but the joke he was talking about, like the trans stuff right now, is he was saying like he's like, gender is not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm 34, the first 32 years of my life, they're like, hey, gender is this, man is this, woman is that. And, all right, on with your business. And he goes, in the last 2 years, it's been like, hey, everything that we know about gender, it's all wrong.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, all right, I guess. I have a question. No. No questions.
Yep.
And he's like, no, I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. I don't understand. I have a question. I'm like, okay, you can ask a question, or you can be transphobic.
Yeah.
What is it that you, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm not trying to, I don't understand. I just have a question.
It's the culture of obey, man. Obey. And
that's the thing. And I fuck it. We're having this conversation. Send in your emails. Contact at onemanpodcast.com. Get mad at me if I'm a piece of shit. I would hope that after an hour and 36 minutes, they know that we're decent human beings. Or we just hate everybody. Regardless. I think the problem is I'm actually personally, I'm behind everybody being able to be the person that they are. I don't give a, I don't,
yeah, of course.
It sounds bad to say, I don't give a shit what you identify or whatever. The idea is that I want everybody to be happy, be comfortable in your own skin. I don't care how you identify.
Yeah.
In the sense that I don't need to even put you in a box. You're a human being. If you need to start, using binomial nomenclature in a standard of just, well, I'm this, all of those things are just ways of separating you from other people. If we're all just human beings, let's leave it at that. But the issue that I have, because I feel like it's counterproductive, is that people, even like myself, who are trying to understand, because I don't know, it's not something that affects my life, and I am privileged in that regard, but I want to understand. I want to broaden my horizons. And it feels, in my stupid, uneducated, humble opinion, that to even ask questions is met with violent opposition and response. And my position is, if you're trying to educate some people on something new, like I work in telecom, I work in an electronics store, not anymore, but but I get senior citizens who come in, and what I'm trying to teach them, they are violently opposed to. They don't know it. It's scary to them.
Sure.
But rather than going, what are you, fucking stupid? How the fuck do you not know about this? It's been around forever. I say, look, don't tell yourself that you can't do it. Okay? I will make this comfortable for you. I will make it easy. If I'm explaining it to you and I lose at any point, let me know. I will show you. We'll go back to that and we'll start again from there. I'll find a different way to explain it to you. But the idea is that I make it warm and comfortable for someone to come in and learn about something they don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that the position that the world is in right now is that there's a lot of new ideas that are confusing to some, that are unaccepted by others, and that Geoff is I'm so sorry I'm doing all the talking right now, but rather than making it a warm climate for those who want to come in and learn and be a part of it, who embrace it and go, okay, I'm open to this, but I just don't know enough. Can you help me learn?
Yeah.
People are angry. People are treating everyone like they're a horrible human being for not just knowing something that they've never had an opportunity to explore. And I think that there's a human nature thing that when people feel attacked, they attack back. So rather than saying, I don't know, I have questions, and people get angry, what are you fucking trans? If you come at me, again, even instinctually, I don't mean to be that person, but if I'm told that I'm a bad person for just not knowing something, I don't wake up knowing new things, but I want everyone to feel okay. But if I don't understand, like my big thing was I tried to find out what all the LGBTQ stuff plus meant, and I couldn't find any harmony in the definitions.
Right.
So I just did my best with what I could find to share it. I got in shit because my definitions weren't good enough.
Fuck
So
'em.
being open-minded and trying to be progressive, I got in shit. I was rewarded for being open-minded with hostility and punishment.
Yeah, just because you're ignorant of the big picture or whatever the political definitions are. When you meet any of these people or whoever, whatever sexuality or gender they are, you treat them like a human being.
Yeah.
That's ultimately the only thing that matters. And like, why do people are so fucking quick to give up their own power? Like people just give it away. Like if someone says to you, oh, I don't like the way you said this, people go, oh, do you? Oh, sorry. No, you don't say sorry. Say, well, why not? Let's fucking discuss this.
Right.
Because you might not be right. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you're right. And it sickens me that people back down because just the accusation implies guilt, and that's the worst.
Right.
climate to live in.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is if you make somebody feel like they're being attacked, they'll attack back, and it makes them defensive.
Yeah.
Now, instead of a conversation where there's ideas being presented and we can all look at them and shuffle them around and whatnot, position them, now it's just, now I'm on the defensive. I've just been accused of something. You're attacking me. Now I need to defend or attack back. It's, it's kind of fucking shitty.
I never understand how people have the time to hate. Like that's my thing is like, you see these people outside with anti-abortion signs and all this shit and like, whatever. You can have your own views, but in my life, I don't even have a family. I don't have all these responsibilities. I don't have time to pick something like abortion, for example, and start picketing. Like, I think it's...
I'm just lazy. I'd go to the gym. If I'm going to walk around in circles,
I got too much shit to do. I can't fucking hate you for not being male or female, or I don't even care. I don't care. Like,
well, I read this, and by read I mean I listened to the audiobook, but
well,
does that count? I acquired the information from a book.
Of course it counts.
You think so? But can you say I read? I didn't read it.
Who gives a fuck?
Right?
You got the information.
I read the button that said play.
Yeah.
I had said play and I hit play.
You're more productive. You're more efficient. That's it.
There's a great book by, I might lose some people who know, but Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
He has a great book called The Ultimate Happiness Prescription. And it's outstanding. Now, I got this book as a CD, like the audiobook, and I put it into my iTunes library. But the problem is that because it's different chapters and tracks, it shuffled them into my regular library. So I would just hear random parts of this book in passing. I never said, okay, I'm going to listen to this right now. So I got random pieces of it. So I haven't read the entire thing, listened to the entire thing. But there's a great part of it that says, give up the need to be right. If you want to be happy, you have to give up the need to be right, because it's very ego centered way of being.
Right.
And because when you're right, that means that somebody else has to be wrong. And to make somebody else feel wrong ruins more relationships. And I don't mean like, husband and wife or what have you, like romantic relationships, but any kind of relationship, because the idea is that the world is based on multiple different points of view. And just because something is different than your point of view doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So to be open. So like, for example, just as your example was, picketing abortion clinics or whatever it is, just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that, the other person is wrong.
Yeah.
And even though you're picketing and you're angry and whatever it is, it's not going to make you happy to be projecting, somebody else to be wrong in their ideas.
Yeah.
So like that goes back to kind of what I was saying in the sense that it's better to create a warm climate where people can have discussions where no one's attacked for not understanding or for having a different point of view.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? I find that the best way to help somebody understand something is not to make them feel stupid or wrong for not just knowing, but going, you know, what do you understand from what I've said so far? Maybe look at it like this. You know, and at the end of the day, because when people look at something and they don't necessarily agree, at least that they can create a counter argument or point.
Yeah.
And now new information is being provided, as opposed to just someone doesn't understand and now you're just making them feel like shit for not understanding.
Yeah.
Because then that person goes, well, I don't want to be a part of that. I tried to put my foot into that world and I just felt awful.
Yeah.
So,
and why did people have to be a part of everything? You know, like you can, there's no, like you don't have to be accepted. Like that's why you and I perform together.
yeah.
Like a lot of times people will love you and fucking hate me and and vice versa, you know, sometimes. So it's like, you don't have to like everything. And that's part of, you know, and just, you know, just because you have an opinion about something and you want to make it public and that, you know, I think this and this other person's wrong, good for you. But, you know, to me, you're still fucking wrong and I don't care about you. Ultimately, why do I have to care about what somebody thinks?
Well, that's true. Yeah. A lot of people have that need for validation, just in the sense that like they will not stop arguing until it's like, well, you think that the way I think. It's like, well, that's just how fucking boring would the world be if everybody was identical in all facets, opinions, characteristics, all
We'd all
shit.
kill ourselves when we were like 12. We'd be like, this is stupid.
I think 12's a stretch. I don't want to, you know, just take this thing and steer it back to some other stuff. But as much as we've gotten away from comedy, like, dude, you've accomplished some pretty spectacular things, and you've actually had an opportunity to do some pretty amazing things. Like a couple years ago, 3 years ago, you were part of like a Team Canada sort of showcase tour around the world.
Yeah, I was picked by the government, oddly enough, to do shows for Canadian forces in Kuwait, Ukraine, France. Yeah, it was pretty incredible. We flew on the Prime Minister's plane. I was with a bunch of Canadian public.
Prime Minister Harper at the time, right?
No.
Was it Trudeau's plane?
It was 2016. It was April 2016, so it must have been, yeah, it was Harper. But, or am I right on that? When was Trudeau elected? I think it was October 2016. But
okay, so it could have been his,
or maybe
his
15.
plane. So a lot of hair products on the plane.
15. No, it was Trudeau's plane. So yeah, it was. That was great. I went with like Arlene Dickinson and the commissioner of CFL, a bunch of CFL and NHL guys, and we just we brought the Grey Cup with us. So. And we just went to different, Canadian Forces bases and did shows for them, which they were truly appreciative of. And it was an unbelievable experience. Like, one night we were sleeping 30 kilometers from the Iraqi border in a very heavily militarized, base. And we'd hear the planes going overhead thinking like, oh God, who knows what could happen. And then the next day I was doing a show on a battleship in the middle of the Mediterranean. And then, and then in the middle of some weird field in Ukraine, 3 days later, it was a whirlwind tour, but it was unreal. It was certainly, as much as I might not agree with the political motives as to what the Canadian forces are doing in the world, I absolutely give, the men and women doing it and any other gender doing it. I have my full support, and, they work hard and they do great things, but it's just always that it comes, I always say, like, let's say a fucking maniac like Donald Trump was elected our prime minister and he wanted our Canadian forces to go in, and just invade some country and do some horrible things. Like, as a troop, would you just obey and go, yeah, well, I'm going to kill all these people because this asshole says so? Or are you going to be like, fuck that guy, I'm quitting? Mm-hmm. That's a tough choice to make as one of the forces. And it's just, that's why I could never do it, just because if there was something I disagreed with, personally or whatever, I just would be like, no, I'm out. Fuck it. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So, but no, I have a huge respect for all the people who sacrifice their lives for, it's not necessarily our freedom, because really no one's invading us, but to help, ultimately, all political factors aside, helping make the world a better place, hopefully.
Now you're referring to the government workers right now. I was by all that. People who sacrifice their lives.
Yeah, to make pretty much. The troops, man. The troops. No, but yeah, no, it was a great experience. Comic, I'll never do another show on a battleship in the middle of the Mediterranean, so it was pretty cool.
Are you sure?
I don't know, maybe. They might count.
Now, what if that was your cheesecake? I'll never perform on a battleship, and then you just did. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's incredible. Now, like, just out of curiosity, because I actually meant to ask you this a long time ago. You performing, I get. You're doing stand-up comedy and whatnot. But Arlene, I can imagine. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Arlene is got her fame.
Dragon's Den.
Her fame, her success, everything based on her, what is it? Venture is the name of her company. Arlene is an outstanding marketer, but Arlene Dickinson is a household name in Canada based on her appearances and her tenure on Dragon's Den. So I can imagine Arlene maybe doing some speeches and some, TED Talks or whatever on business marketing and things like that, which everyone knows troops need, right? The troops are like, when you come back, you guys are all getting into marketing.
Yeah, we're all millionaires.
Yeah. So my thoughts though is like the CFL players and stuff like that. Like, what exactly were they doing show wise? Were they telling stories or
no? They did. Some of them would come out and they just say hello. Like they're kind of old retired players who it was just the troops they're on 8-month tours, I guess, and their day to day is pretty hopefully actually monotonous because they don't want to necessarily be engaged in some kind of crazy war. So every day is similar to them. So, when this delegation goes over to entertain them or just say hello and thank you, it's a big thing for them because it's the one day of their 8-month tour where they're like, holy shit, this is people coming to see us.
Yeah.
Some Canadians that we know. So it's so the players didn't do that much. Like they just kind of signed autographs, took photos, gave some jerseys out.
Okay.
They're really great people, nice guys, and it was fun. It was super fun.
In terms of like performance and presentation, so it was yourself doing comedy.
Yeah.
Was I right on Arlene? She's basically motivational.
Yeah, she would say some, a few words. She's an honorary. I don't know if it's if not captain, but she's an honorary something. She does a lot of these things. She's heavily involved with Canadian Forces, support. We had Kate Burness from TSN Sports. She was the MC. She emceed the event. She's really great person. I love Kate. And then we had the Lovelocks. They were like a country band. They would do some music. So, I did about 20 minutes of comedy on the shows, and then the Lovelocks would perform. So we had about an hour and a half show for the troops, and it ended up being, it was great. And just talking to them afterward, just, they're all from all over the country, and they've been, I talked to a guy who's like, yeah, my wife's, she's part of the forces, and I am too, and we haven't seen each other in 13 months. And I was like, wow. Jesus Christ.
That sucks.
Yeah. So, they do sacrifice quite a bit.
That's awesome. Now you made friends with Arlene while you were there. That's how handsome Geoff is. Got this millionaire chick is like, hey there, young stud.
Yeah, she's.
You got to go hang out at her birthday party. Was it her birthday or anniversary or?
Yeah, it was sort of just like I think it was like, it wasn't her birthday. It was, she had me down at her house in Southern Ontario. Just to hang. She had a party one night. She invited me. So
how fucking cool is that? This guy over here across the table. Just hanging out at a dragon's house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's
like,
great.
I'm having a party, Geoff. You want to come over and eat my caviar?
It was
wink,
delicious.
Wink. No, I'm just kidding. Geoff did not have sex with Arlene Dickinson from Dragon. She's married, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Geoff should have had sex with Arlene from Dragon's Den. Come on. If I didn't say it, everybody here is going to think it, except for the chicks.
I did not have sex with her. Of course not.
No, you didn't. Why do you look guilty?
Why does
right
everything
now?
have to be about sex?
I don't know,
Jesus,
dude.
man.
If I looked
She's
like you
awesome.
did, I would use the powers that I had at my disposal. Right? Wolverine's not trying to pick locks, so he can fucking chop the goddamn door down. You know what I'm saying?
We talked a lot. She's a great person. She's actually
She's a sweetheart.
She is. She's a great person, and we talked a ton. She gave me some business advice. She's a wonderful person, and that's and I think that's actually like without having any, why does it like? It's so weird that everything, you can't just be friends with people anymore, It's like men and women or whatever other gender you are.
Yeah. You got to keep going back to that.
Yeah.
It's the most progressive podcast of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude. We're almost 2 hours now, and I could just keep talking. I'm having a great time. So just for my listeners right now, because I'd love to have you back another time. We'll go into a bunch of other stories. Have you got anything coming up, or where can people find you? I know you and I are both not huge social media people, but where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter. I don't tweet that much, but I am on Twitter.
At
Geoffrey MacKay. GeoffReymAckay. It sounds like a Disney rhyme.
MOUSC. That's awesome, dude. Do you have anything coming up that you're excited about?
Nothing. No,
That's life.
No, I got corporate stuff coming, corporate shows, and I'm working on something. I want to sort of create a bit more of a corporate platform to book comedians. I'm hoping to do that in the next couple months, hopefully with you, Josh, and some other partners. So,
your website, that's still up and viewable?
Yeah.
You got a lot of really cool stuff on your website. What's your website?
www.geoffmackay.ca. GeoffMackay. It's a radio station now.
You have so much fun fucking stuff on your website. I love seeing it because you can see pictures of the China stuff. You can see pictures of the Troops tour.
Oh yeah.
You can see, just you performing, just some goofy people with signs in front of stadiums and stuff like that in New York. You've got lots of great stuff. Dude, I'm so grateful for you, coming to sit down. Geoff wanted to leave like an hour ago. I can't tell you guys how much snow and shit is happening outside that he's going to have to drive home through rush hour right now. But dude, thank you for sitting down with me and chatting, dude. It's going to be a great episode.
Thank you, Joshua.